Harlem Renaissance and African American Arts, New York's Cultural Revolution. Subscribe for more, share, like, and comment. A jazz-infused dawn, when Harlem became the world stage. Picture this. It's a sultry night in 1920s Harlem. The air vibrates with the syncopated beats of jazz, cafes buzz with poets and painters, and every street corner pulses with creativity. Lanterns glow outside the Cotton Club and the Savoy Ballroom as a crowd of dreamers, artists, and thinkers gathers, black and white, rich and poor, all drawn by the irresistible promise of something new and thrilling. The Harlem Renaissance was more than a movement. It was a revolution that transformed not only New York, but the soul of American culture. How did a single New York neighborhood become the epicenter of black artistic brilliance? And why does its legacy still ripple through music, literature, and art today? The answers lie in the stories of struggle, triumph, and the unquenchable spirit of a community determined to redefine itself. The Great Migration, setting the stage for change. The Harlem Renaissance didn't just happen. It was the result of sweeping social changes that brought hundreds of thousands of African Americans from the rural South to the industrial North. Between 1916 and 1970, the Great Migration transformed American cities, none more so than New York. Why Harlem? Harlem, once an upper-class white suburb, rapidly became affordable and accessible to black families. By the early 1920s, it was the largest black urban community in America, a unique, concentrated hub for cultural exchange, a new urban reality. In Harlem, black Americans found greater freedom and opportunity, but also new challenges. Facing discrimination, poverty, and segregation, they turned to community and creativity for resilience and expression. Out of adversity, they forged a vibrant, self-affirming culture. The heartbeat of Harlem, music, dance, and nightlife jazz take center stage. If the Harlem Renaissance had a soundtrack, it was jazz. The movement attracted musical giants whose influence still resounds. Duke Ellington played the Cotton Club, dazzling audiences with his sophisticated orchestration and showmanship. Louis Armstrong, with his golden trumpet and improvisational genius, made the city swing. Count Basie, Fletcher Henderson, and Bessie Smith were regulars, each shaping the soundscape of Harlem's nightlife. The music was more than entertainment. It was a declaration of black pride and creative genius. White New Yorkers flocked uptown to experience the Harlem sound, making jazz the first truly integrated pop culture phenomenon in America. The Savoy Ballroom, where dance broke barriers. The Savoy Ballroom was the beating heart of Harlem. Opened in 1926, it was one of the few integrated clubs in New York where black and white dancers mingled freely. Here, the Lindy Hop was born, an exuberant dance that captured Harlem's spirit of innovation and joy. Ballroom battles, legendary competitions between dance troupes, drew crowds and press coverage. The Savoy became a symbol of Harlem's inclusivity and exuberance, proving that art could break down even the most stubborn barriers. Blues and gospel, the soul of struggle. Harlem's music was not all raucous jazz. The blues and gospel traditions brought from the South found new life in northern churches and clubs. Mahalia Jackson and Sister Rosetta Tharpe electrified audiences, blending sacred and secular into a uniquely African-American art form. The literary explosion, words as weapons, dreams as declarations. The birth of a black literary elite. For the first time, African-American writers commanded national attention. Harlem's salons and cafes buzzed with literary debate, and publications like The Crisis and Opportunity provided platforms for new voices. Key figures included Langston Hughes, the poet laureate of Harlem, captured the joys and struggles of black life in verse, I Too Sing America, and prose. Zora Neale Hurston, novelist, anthropologist, and folklorist. Hurston's Their Eyes Were Watching God remains a touchstone of black literature. Claude McKay, his bold poetry, If We Must Die, spoke to resistance against racism and violence. Countee Cullen, Jean Toomer, Jesse Redman, Fausse, Nella Larson. Each brought unique perspectives, from the rural South to cosmopolitan New York. Magazines and manifestos. Periodicals like The Crisis, edited by W.E.B. Du Bois, and Fire, became crucibles for debate, with writers arguing about the future of black art. Should it cater to white tastes or celebrate blackness on its own terms? This new Negro movement sought to define identity, creativity, and pride on black terms. Theater and oratory. Harlem's theaters, like the Apollo and the Lafayette, showcased black talent in drama, comedy, and oratory. Paul Robeson stunned audiences with his performances, while Marcus Garvey's fiery speeches inspired waves of black nationalism. Art was both entertainment and activism. The visual arts, painting a new narrative, the Harlem Artists Guild and beyond. As writers and musicians flourished, visual artists found their own voices. The Harlem Artists Guild, founded in 1935, supported painters and sculptors who captured the beauty and complexity of black life. Aaron Douglas, called the father of African American art. Douglas fused African motifs with modernist styles to create murals and illustrations that celebrated black history and resilience. Augusta Savage, a pioneering sculptor and educator, Savage's studio became a training ground for a generation of black artists. Archibald Motley, Palmer Hayden, William H. Johnson. Each used color and form to tell the story of Harlem's streets and souls. Public art and community identity. Federal programs during the Great Depression, like the WPA, funded murals and art classes that brought creativity into public spaces. Art became a tool for building pride and solidarity, as well as challenging stereotypes. Harlem as a symbol beyond the neighborhood. Exporting the Renaissance. Harlem's influence was not confined to its borders. Black artists from across the nation and the world flocked to Harlem, bringing ideas and taking inspiration back home. The Renaissance changed American culture, but it also shaped global conversations about race, modernity, and creativity. Writers like Richard Wright and James Baldwin would later build on Harlem's legacy, confronting racial injustice and sparking new movements. The birth of black pride. The Harlem Renaissance was the soil from which the civil rights movement would eventually grow. Its proud assertion of black identity, "Black is beautiful," challenged the racism and segregation of American society. Harlem became a beacon for those seeking dignity, equality, and self-expression. Challenges and contradictions. The other side of the Renaissance, economic hardship and urban struggles. Despite the artistic flowering, most Harlemites faced poverty, overcrowding, and discrimination. The economic collapse of the Great Depression hit the community especially hard, and many artists struggled to make ends meet. The white gaze and commercialization. Many of Harlem's nightclubs, including the famous Cotton Club, were owned by white businessmen and catered to white audiences, even as black performers dazzled on stage. The tension between creative freedom and commercial demands was ever present. Gender and sexuality. Women artists and LGBTQ+ innovators played crucial roles, but often fought for recognition in a male-dominated scene. Figures like Gladys Bentley, a lesbian blues singer and pianist, and Alain Locke, the openly gay dean of the Renaissance, challenged norms and expanded the movement's horizons. The enduring legacy, Harlem's echoes in modern culture, lasting influence in arts and activism. The Harlem Renaissance's impact can be felt in every corner of American culture. Music, jazz, R&B, hip-hop, all trace roots to Harlem's innovation. Literature. Contemporary authors like Toni Morrison and Ta-Nehisi Coates stand on the shoulders of Hughes and Hurston. Art. Black visual artists continue to draw inspiration from Harlem's pioneers. Harlem today, a living legacy. Harlem remains a vibrant center of black culture, with institutions like the Apollo Theater, the Studio Museum in Harlem, and the annual Harlem Arts Festival keeping the spirit alive. Murals, music, and poetry still echo through the neighborhood's brownstones and boulevards. Conclusion. When Harlem dared the world to dream. The Harlem Renaissance was not just an artistic movement. It was a revolution that challenged America to see, hear, and value black creativity. It was a declaration that beauty, intelligence, and innovation belong to all people, regardless of color. Today, Harlem's Renaissance reminds us that art can change the world, that from struggle can come joy, from adversity can come brilliance. When the world seems divided, Harlem's example shines, a community that dared to dream, and in doing so, changed the course of history. So next time you hear a jazz riff, read a line of poetry, or glimpse a mural splashed across a Harlem wall, remember, you are touching the legacy of a revolution, a renaissance that still dances to the beat of New York's heart.